Hello, this is Coach Tim Campbell, and I'm your host for the Self Made as a Myth, Make a Difference Together show, where we're talking with successful business owners to hear their stories of the journey to building their business. And because we know that success in business doesn't happen in isolation, we're taking some time to recognize the folks who have helped us to excel. Today, I'm excited to have a fellow business owner from Indiana with us today. Check this out. This is funny. Now, he said this, not me, but my guest cannot grow hair on his head, only on his face. In his downtime, he likes to play golf and he's most proud of his family. So we will get him to tell us a little bit more about that. It's my pleasure to welcome Andy to the show today. Hello, Andy.
Hello, how you doing, Tim?
I'm awesome. Thanks for asking. Hey, let's jump in and have you start by introducing yourself. Tell us a little bit of your personal story, like where you were born, where you live, about your family, and your
Sure.
hobbies.
Yeah, so I am my name's Andy Hendricks. I live in Mooresville, Indiana with my wife Vickie. We've got two kids. One is just graduated high school, so we're kind of navigating the waters of college and for our pre-college, I guess, and all those things. So that's pretty cool and interesting. My daughter is going to be a freshman in high school, so we'll have two freshmen, one in high school, one in college. Um, yeah, I was born in northern Indiana, Wabash. Only lived there for just a couple years. Grew up in Terre Haute, Indiana, which is on the western edge of the state. Went to school there. Met my wife at college there at Indiana State University, and then we kind of migrated to central Indiana about 15 years ago or so.
Mhm.
And I've kind of just set roots here and just absolutely love where we live and love the community that we're in. So it's really awesome.
Wonderful. So tell us a little bit about golf. Or uh,
Yeah, I used to
how-
be good. I was good before I had kids, and then I got busy doing that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I played in high school. Got pretty good outside of college. My first job ever was as assistant golf pro
oh,
at a country club in Terre Haute, and I worked there for 3 or 4 years, and got to spend a lot of time playing and teaching and just running tournaments and things like that. I just really loved it, so it's always been a part of me, and that's kind of one of my life goals at this point is to be able to play when I want to instead of when I can. So, but yeah, it's just something that it's something that you can do all your life, and I'm really glad that I picked it up when I was 11 years old.
fantastic. So tell us, is there a funny story that your family likes to share about you that you'd be willing to pass on and share with us?
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, it's mildly embarrassing. I like to pride myself on being a pretty quick guy and picking up on things. But this instance didn't happen so well. I was talking to my son. He had gone to a school event and where they had to stay in a hotel. And he was telling me the story about the room and the buddies that he had in his room and stuff like that. And he said, we had a hearing impaired room. And I'm like, a hearing impaired room. And I said, I was thinking, so was there braille signs all over the room? And then I realized that that would be for visually impaired people, not hearing impaired people. So they like to make fun of me that I couldn't decipher the difference between the hearing impaired room and the braille or the visually impaired room. So that's one that they make fun of me for still about every time I go to a hotel.
That's
So
awesome. I love it. Well, thank you for sharing.
yeah, for sure.
Andy, tell us about how the business came about and at what point did you have the confidence that you could run your own business?
Yeah, so I don't know. My story is maybe a lot like a lot of guys, or maybe not like a lot of guys. I don't know for sure. I mean, it was a slow start for me. I had been working at a job that I absolutely disliked,
Mm.
and I took it as long as I could, and then I kind of got reached a breaking point. I was not a good person at that point in my life. I was angry. You know, I just didn't didn't like what was going on with my life, and so I just quit the job, and that was without notice and without notice to my wife as well, who was pregnant with our second child at the time, and
Oh
we had a
no.
3-year-old son, and I didn't have a backup plan. So I turned to my father-in-law, who was a window cleaner That's the business that I own, is a window cleaning business. He was a window cleaner, kind of just did his own little thing. But he had some work that he gave me and paid me cash for it. And I realized that I liked it. It was satisfying. I could make a difference in even in a small way in people and help them with things that they couldn't necessarily do. So I did that. And the next spring, I decided I was going to do that on my own. And I went out there and hustled, and I drove a two-door Oldsmobile Alero, if you know what that car is, but it's a two-door coupe. And I call that my first work truck. It was like, I folded down the back seats and I stuck a little foldable ladder and a bucket of soap and water back there. And I went out there and I tried to find what I could find. And I basically took any job that would pay me. And I hustled and hustled. And I basically, after a year or two, I kind of created myself a job, not really a business. I kind of created myself a job.
Yeah.
And, I could pay the bills. We could do the things we wanted to do on the weekend, and we were comfortable. But it's still, like I said, if I wasn't out doing the work, there was no money coming in. It was not. So I had to hustle and grind to keep it up. And then obviously the seasonality of the work that we do, it got really tough in the winter, when we didn't have as many leads and didn't have as much going on. So kind of had to fight that fight. So really it was like a 6-year deal where I kind of just coasted through that, never really grew, always just kind of stayed the same, and kind of could, as long as I was going out and working, I knew we were going to be okay.
Right.
2015 was about when I decided that, hey, this is something that, I need to take seriously. And that's kind of when I started to work on myself a little bit, kind of gleaned from other people, and, really started to take it seriously and learn how to own a business as opposed to have a job.
Yeah. Wonderful. Tell us a little bit more about the company. So what's the name?
Yeah.
What do you guys do? How do you help people?
Yeah. So it's A1 window cleaning and pressure washing service. That's what we do. Basically, we kind of try to stay in our lane. There's a few ancillary services that we offer, but really it's cleaning windows in residential and commercial settings. We power wash siding and concrete. We clean gutters. And last year we added holiday light installation to our lineup of services that seems to go really well with that seasonality of our business. So kind of the time we start to slow down, we can do the holiday light installation. And it kind of bridges the gap a little bit, because a lot of what we face as a seasonal business is keeping employees busy throughout the year. I mean, you want to keep good people around, and it's hard to do that when there's not much going on. So we've tried to add that service, and it's really, really a good add-on. So, but yeah, we're about 85%, 90% residential. So we're in homes all the time. With that, we try to be super customer focused and really, really try to, communicate at a high level, and just satisfy customers' needs. I mean, and that's, I think we're more of a customer service business that happens to clean things.
Oh, I like that. That's a
Right.
wonderful perspective to the way to describe it. And I think that probably, I would assume that helps with the employees as well to think of it through that lens as well.
Yeah, that's definitely gone over in the training and talked about all the time. Is, the customer isn't always right, but most of the time they are. And even if they're not, you need to do your best to try to make sure that they're happy in the end. So
Yes, there are some times who our customers are not right, but that doesn't mean that we have to tell them as bluntly as it
right,
is obvious in our head, right?
for sure.
Andy, share a story where someone pushed you or inspired you that you could do it, even though maybe you didn't think you could, and the impact that person had.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that I'm going to revert back to that 2015 time. I was introduced to a podcast called the Quick Talk Podcast, and the host's name was Josh Latimer. And Josh owned a like business in Michigan. They did window cleaning, and they were even more seasonal because they were in like, northern Michigan. So
Right.
they had a smaller window of opportunity than we did. But he did this podcast, and he was like, started out to be like a once a week thing. And he would talk about the struggles of a small owner operator guy trying to go out and make it on his own. He had done this, and he had kind of scaled his business to the point that he was comfortable and didn't have to go do the work himself anymore. And I was on the other end of that spectrum where I was grinding every day, doing all the work, and had to, really fight to get jobs and fight to eat sometimes, really. So, the ideas that he presented um, were really actionable and practical things that you could go out and do. Simple things like yard signs and door hangers and, just easy things, but maybe things that a guy that's just starting out doesn't really realize are things that are easy to do and cheap.
Sure.
He talked about having, maybe no money, but you have a lot of time. So if you have a lot of time, there's a lot of things that you can do with that time. And even if you're not actually doing the physical work of cleaning a window or whatever you may do, cleaning a carpet or whatever your job may be, you need to be working 8 to 10 hours a day in, even if you're not doing the thing. So, I took all that information to heart, and I would constantly have his podcast in my ear, listening to him. And so Josh has now become a friend. We've actually connected, met, our families know each other.
Oh, wow.
And he's moved on to bigger and better things in his career, and is not even in the cleaning space anymore. But his influence at that point in my life was massive. And he knows this. I've told him all this stuff before, but it's a very, very big deal to me that, that happened, because it did change the course of my business for sure.
Absolutely. What an awesome opportunity to be able to, just probably randomly find him on, his podcast and
That was
start
it.
listening to him. What a great story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I'm sure there's lots, but what's your biggest learning as a business owner over the years?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest learning is how to be a leader.
Mm,
That to me is, you know, there's all kinds of things, right? Marketing, accounting, all the stuff, but people, it's all about the people, right? It's the people that you serve and the people that you employ. And that's the challenge. It's being there for them, caring about them, being able to, even as a small business, do what you can. It can be the littlest thing, that maybe that you don't think's all that big of a deal, but they see it as a massive thing. Remembering their birthday, we have a list that we have them fill out when they come on board with us, called the favorites list, and they will fill out their favorite soda, maybe their favorite snack, favorite restaurant, and we might surprise them one day with just like a pack of peanut M&Ms or whatever their thing is, and they're
sure.
like, dude, that's awesome. Like, how most people don't think about that stuff. And it's just little things that we do to try to make sure that we care for them and show them that we love them and want them to be successful. And I know that the business that we're in isn't a career for a lot of people, it's a
Mhm.
job.
Sure.
But I just want people to be better off when they leave us than when they came in, and look back on us, excuse me, their time here, and say, man, they really, maybe they'll be in my seat one day and they'll be able to take care of people the way that we try to, just to, if we can share that with people, um, that's really the thing. But being a leader is, I think it's an ongoing thing. I think you're constantly having to, learn those skills, practice those skills, and I don't think it's ever finished.
Yeah, I really like what you were saying in terms of, you said it's not necessarily a career for most people, but we want to take care of them, treat them well. Maybe we extend their stay because they
For
love
sure.
how they're being treated. They love the culture, and when we spend as much time as we do at work, right? It's not always about the money. It's about the enjoyment, right? And the interactions and whether we feel valued and appreciated. So yeah,
For
it's a
sure.
great job, and I love that idea. I'm gonna borrow it. Getting employees to
Hey,
share their favorites. That's awesome.
yeah, it's really cool. I mean, just, one of my guys' favorite places is Texas Roadhouse. So, and he likes Red Bull. So I got him a 12 pack of Red Bull and a $25 gift card for his birthday to Texas Roadhouse. And it's just like, that's super cool for him, right? Like, he didn't
Right?
get something he didn't want or couldn't use. He got exactly what he could like.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
anyway, yeah, just knowing those little things and taking the time to ask a few simple questions,
Mhm.
it goes a long way. for sure.
Andy, we know that success in business doesn't happen in isolation. So tell us about one of your biggest challenges in growing your business, and maybe a fellow business owner that came alongside you and helped you get through that.
Yeah. For me, and this is early, it happens today still too. It's self-limiting beliefs. That's my biggest challenge.
Yeah.
I think most people struggle with that in all facets of life. I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not pretty enough, whatever it is, but in the business world, and it's you kind of look at these guys that that seem to have successful businesses, and you're thinking, I can't do that, I don't know how to do that, I'm not smart enough to do that, but none of that is true.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in this day and age with all the resources available to people online and YouTube and everywhere, there's no reason why you can't do it. And it's a mental thing in my mind to think, to get past that stuff, to add that new service, to hire that extra person when you don't know how you're going to pay for them,
Yeah.
all these different things. But you have to get past that. So there was a business coach named Brian Haggerty, who actually lives in New Jersey, but he was a coach of mine a few years ago, and he was kind of I don't know if you, not to stereotype anybody, but the New Jersey, no nonsense, type of thing. And that was he was kind of gruff and kind of, he was super loving, super nice, but he was kind of in your face a little bit, and somewhat aggressive at times with his messaging, but it was all accurate. It was all true.
Yeah.
And all things that needed to be done. He just didn't give you any leeway. He was going to make sure you did it.
Uh-huh.
So him, kind of making sure that I should say, hold me accountable for, the things that he wanted us to do made a lot of sense. And that pushed us through. He's actually the one that got us started in power washing. We were strictly window cleaning forever.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm not doing that. It's too much. It's too hard. I got to learn too much to figure that out. And anyway, so he pushed us through a lot, and pushed me through a lot, I should say. And, just the belief that you can't do it is not true.
Yeah. You're so right about our self-limiting beliefs and all the negative messaging. And it's also, folks refer to it as the imposter syndrome. We all have those doubts and fears and negative messages, that records that play in our head. And success is about 90% of success comes from, right, our beliefs. So if we're constantly telling ourselves that we're going to fail or we're not good enough, then that ends up being what happens. That's what we manifest. The law of attraction kicks in and says, okay, well, if you believe you're going to fail, then I have to make sure that's what you're going to attract, right? That's what the universe is going to provide. So first of all, to your point, acknowledging that we've got those messages, and then putting mechanisms in place to change that record, right, to positive affirmations, is a huge deal. I've been in a mindset coaching program for about 2.5 years, and when I first heard about this whole idea of changing the messages and affirmations and manifesting, I thought it was all foo-foo until I actually did it for real. And I can map out my revenue, and it's 100% correlated to where my mindset is at during those months. And it's just amazing. The law of attraction is huge.
Right. John Maxwell, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Think and Grow Rich is a very, old book that, same idea, right? That's based on the author interviewed a whole bunch of successful business owners over multiple years, and the message, in a nutshell, is what you think and believe is what you attract.
Right. Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
So that's awesome that you were able to have that learning and understanding, and be able to implement it into your business. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Andy, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. If I was to ask you to pick 3 people in your business owner journey that you're most grateful for them being there to help with your growth, who are those 3 people and how they help you?
Okay. So first of all, it's 2 of my current employees, and that's really just, I'm calling that one of the 3. Stephen and Ezra are guys that have been with me for 4 or 5 years. And that's the majority of us as we've grown from, those are a couple of my first hires.
Oh, yeah.
And they are, I don't know where we'd be without them. And so that would be a massive, massive number one for me. They've just been amazing and supportive and willing to do kind of whatever needs to be done and work the overtime and, go through the slow seasons and come back and go at it again. So those two guys are number one for sure. Number two would be another business coach that I've had for the last 3 or 4 years. His name's Michael Grigory. He owns a marketing company, an online digital marketing company, but he also worked in the same space that we're in now, and kind of worked as a franchisee. So he's got a lot of knowledge in our industry and also in the marketing world. So he's amazing, and just been really a big help. And he's based in San Diego, so kind of another big market, and just has a lot of knowledge and a lot of contacts too. So a lot of help there. And the third would be another local business owner that I know, a good friend of mine named Todd Francis. Todd is a Indianapolis-based business owner, complementary services to what we do, so we can kind of help each other out a lot with leads. And we're kind of the same size business pretty much, and so we kind of go through the same struggles, it seems like, with employees and all the stuff, that equipment and all the things that just kind of seem to get in the way from time to time.
Sure.
But we kind of share the same mindset as far as faith goes, and kind of just are able to bounce a lot, sounding board for each other, and that kind of thing, and support too. So those three, Stephen and Ezra being number one, Michael, my coach, one of my coaches, and then Todd, one of my peers. So yeah, those would be my three.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's shift gears a little bit here and talk about the future. So as you think about the next 3 to 5 years, Andy, what are the biggest challenges that you see that you're going to face in reaching your goals, and who are the types of people you're going to need to overcome those?
Well, I think it's continuing to grow as a leader, and being around people that have done this before, and learning from them. I mean, it's one thing to have 2 or 3 employees. It's another thing. We're currently at 10 or 11, but to think about what it's going to take to, have 30, 40 employees, 50, whatever it is, that's, again, kind of overwhelming mentally. Now, myself 2 or 3 years ago, when we had 2 or 3 employees, I would never have thought we'd be where we're at now with 11. And so it will happen. And I know that, but, I think also honing in a little bit more on the numbers side of things. Sometimes it's easy to run away from your P&L and your budget, and just kind of do whatever you want whenever you feel like you want to, or, hey, we need this piece of equipment, let's just buy it. But there needs to be more to it than that. And, does it fit the plan? Does it fit the budget? That kind of thing. So those are really the things I think for the next 3 to 5 years. But again, I feel like it's all about people. So I think it's, the rest of the stuff will take care of itself, I believe. But making sure that we manage our people the right way and treat people the right way and retain, good talent, I think, are all massively important to our growth.
Wonderful. You mentioned, I like what you said about, who I am today, right? Would have, or who I was, 3 or 4 years ago, would have been afraid of where the business is today.
Oh, for sure.
Typically what happens is that, the business will, we do things and it focus on growing the business. It'll have a little growth spurt. And then there tends to be a little bit of a pause, because we then have to grow into the new version of our business, and the business can't continue to grow until we catch up to the current growth of the business. So it typically, it'll be growth, and then it'll plateau a little bit while we catch up to that growth. And then when we're ready, it'll grow again, and then it'll plateau. And so you're right, in terms of, leadership and us just continuing to become, the next version of ourselves so that we can lead the company to that next growth spurt.
That's definitely the challenge. It's not being complacent, not being content. I mean, because like you said, it's you know, you get into this comfort zone and you're like, I'm comfortable here. We're doing okay, everything's
Yes.
cool. But you have to push through that to get to the next level. And there's so many push throughs that you have to make to level up. And it is uncomfortable, but that's the only way to grow. I
Yeah.
mean, that in anything.
Yes.
So
We talk about the idea that everything that we want in life and in our business is on the other side of our comfort zone.
for sure.
It's all about how quickly, like when we break through, right, one of those, challenging things, it's then, we can either pause and just enjoy the status quo, or how quickly can we run into that next uncomfortableness, right? And experience the next growth and the next growth and the next growth. And that's
Yeah.
how we keep building our business.
What I've noticed, I think, is the people that successfully grow their business the fastest are those that are comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes,
If that makes sense. Like
absolutely.
they love that challenge, they love that next thing. I'm not necessarily saying that's me because I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I don't hate it, but I am a little bit more calculated and maybe slower to to take that risk. But regardless, I think it's good and bad both ways. I can see good and bad both ways. But yeah, I
Well,
think those people move fast.
the great thing about your story is you've acknowledged that and you've hired external people to help push you. So that's
For sure.
fantastic, right?
For sure.
Andy, last question here. Jim Rohn, amazing business guru, says that we become the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So, as you think about that quote, what advice would you have for people who are listening to this interview and business owners who are trying to do it on their own and think that they don't need to ask other people for help? What would you say to
Right.
them?
Well, I think that was me in the beginning. And I think that once you start asking for help, you see how um, readily available that help is and how willing people are to help you. Um, a lot of times for no money involved too. I mean, you may not always want to take the advice you're given, but there's been people along the way that um, I've I've asked for advice from, and they willingly and maybe not even maybe unknowingly helped me either with confidence or whatever it may be,
Mm.
um, to believe that I could do this. I would also tell early stage business owners to not be scared, and don't let fear get in your way,
Mm.
because it did get in mine a lot of the time. And you know, one of my core beliefs in my life is you have to have faith over fear. And if you continue to do the right things and treat people the right way, day after day, and you wake up every morning and go get it, it's going to work out for you. It's not always going to be good. It's not always going to be rainbows and roses, right?
Yeah,
But the trajectory is still going to go up. It might, like you said, it might level off. It might even go down for a second,
sure.
but it's still going to continue to go up over time. Um, and learn from others, right? Like you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Somebody, whatever your job is, whatever your business is, somebody's probably done it before you.
Yes.
Take what they've done, learn from that, get on YouTube, talk to Tim, get a coach, whoever that coach may be, whatever coach works for you.
Mhm.
When I did that, that that skyrocketed my trajectory as well. Like um, it's amazing when you have someone holding you accountable,
Mhm.
and even the little things that you don't want to do and that you could easily pass off as I don't feel like dealing with it.
Yeah.
Getting those things done just so you're not, you know, looked down upon, or whatever you want to call it. That really helps as well. So, that those would be my things of advice: is just don't let fear get in your way, learn from others, and maybe take calculated risks.
Fantastic. So, Andy, it sounds like you've been blessed with some incredible people that have helped you along your journey. If they were all on the show here today, what would you want to say to them?
Man, just thank you. I mean, keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate the advice and knowledge that you've shared with me. As I grow in business and kind of move on to what might be next for me, I hope to be able to do that for other people. either employees of mine or outside folks that would like, some advice and knowledge. So I mean, just keep treating people the right way. Obviously, I was treated the right way by a lot of people along the way, and being willing to share that knowledge and support folks is very important, and that is not lost on me. So what they've done for me, I hope to do for others for sure.
I love your idea or concept there of paying it forward. What I found is that generally is happening. So a lot of people will worry about, well, I don't know, they seem really busy. I don't want to bother them. I can't ask them for advice or ideas because they're a super busy, successful business owner. They're not going to have time for me. How would you respond to that fear?
Well, I would say they are busy, but they probably will make time for you too,
Mhm.
because they've been through it and they understand. There's probably someone along the line that's helped them get to where they are,
Yeah.
and they're going to realize that, this person has ambition and drive, and all they might need is a little bit of help. And yeah, so I would say make that call, text that guy, send that email that may change your life. So yeah, for sure, do it.
Awesome. Andy, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, thanks, Tim. I appreciate it.
To everyone who tuned in, thanks for listening to the Self-Made as a Myth show with your host, Coach Tim Campsell. Be sure to help spread the movement by liking the show and posting about it on your social media. And to join the movement, go to bemadtogether.com. All right, folks, that's a wrap. Make sure to pay it forward, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.